This is second tutorial video for Terrain Toolbox plugin. In this video we will cover all the features of the plugin in full detail, so you have an idea of what this plugin can offer to you and what you can do with it. So first, what you would do is you would import the plugin, and what you will get is this folder called Terrain Toolbox. So you'll find inside is a bunch of folders, but all you will have to do is take the editor folder out and a resources folder out of the main folder. If you already have existing resources or editor folder, you would just put the contents into there, the Terrain Toolbox folder, same here. So once you imported it, what you will find the plugin under Window tab and Terrain Toolbox. You'll get this window, so we will look it now. Okay, so what you can do with the plugin, you can either create your terrains with this plugin if you don't have any, or you can use your already existing terrains and edit them, fix the seams, make them continuous, or just expand them, or whatever you want. In this case, we will create new terrains and we will edit them. So first thing, in any of those scenarios, you have to have your parent game object, which you will assign here. I'll just make sure. Did I get it? I didn't get it assigned. So I'll just make sure it's centered. Now there are two main tabs. One is called Create Terrains, and other is Terrain Editor. With the Create Terrains, we are actually creating terrains and adjusting things like textures for all of them and stuff like that. And in the Terrain Editor, you are actually editing the heights. You are sculpting the terrains, and there are all the things connected to that. So first we will create the terrains. So you will do it with grid dimensions. You are setting how many terrains you want. We want 4, so we'll do 2 by 2. The start position is setting offset. In the terrain size, we'll put something like 1000, height, whatever. You should be familiar with all those things because they are just the same ones as the regular Unity terrain. So all these values should be pretty familiar to you. Okay, so we'll create the terrains, and we will get 4 terrains. So now we will just quickly get to editing. So in the Terrain Editor, under Settings, what you are setting is things like how much resolution will have the edit mesh I want to be editing, what kind of area of the terrains I want to be editing, and stuff like that. So first we will, with the field, or what you are doing with the field is setting the area you want to be editing. Usually you would probably want to be editing all of it, but sometimes if you have too many meshes, like if you would have 50 of them, you probably would want to edit just part, not only because it will allow you to focus on the specific area, but also the time of these calculations will be much lower, because obviously with lower amount of terrains you are dealing with, the lower like less amount of time it will take to process them. So now we will edit 4 of them. We will set some reduce density to certain. So I will explain it right now. The reduce density, what it's doing is basically you are taking the original Unity terrains, the 4 of them in this case, and you will create one big mesh out of them. It can be several meshes actually sometimes, but they will be 3 standard 3D meshes, and you will be editing those, and then you will take the edited 3D meshes and project the data to the original Unity terrains you have. But to be able to edit them really quickly with large brushes, like we will be able to edit this 4 terrains with, say, brush big as 1 terrain, so we can do really large edits to the whole thing. But to be able to do that, we have to reduce the density of the original Unity terrains. So if, for example, you have a resolution of the original Unity terrains 500, that would put us to 250,000 points for 1 Unity terrain. If you would reduce the density by 2, that would give you 125,000. If you would reduce it by 10, that would surprisingly give you 25,000 points. So, there is some kind of value which you have to figure out based on the amount of, terrains you have, based on how big brushes you want to be using. Do you want to be focusing on small details, on bigger details? So you just kind of play around with the values and figure out the right value for you. You'll do, for example, 6 for now, and we will pre-process it. that's just calculating all the points of the original Unity terrains. Editing will actually create this 3D mesh. So now we have the sculpt mesh, which is actually a 3D mesh. In this case, we have only one. You don't have to worry about it, how many meshes there is. That's really nothing, which have to bother you. And now you are able to edit all of them. As you will be able to see, you can put it to, for example, 800, set this to 10 or something, and you can see, you are able to edit like all those four terrains pretty quickly. So, like doing these kind of large edits, you are just able to edit 4 terrains and do these large scale terrain edits really fast. So now I'll just project it back, and these changes to the sculpt meshes are projected back to the original Unity terrains without any seams. So you will see that these seams are not actual geometry seams. They are like normal seams from normals. You can easily fix it with automatically setting neighbors here. If you will press that, you will see it's all gone, and so as you can see, under 1 minute we were able to edit 4 terrains, do large scale edits to that, and it's kind of ready to go. So let's have a look at the specifics a little bit more here. So we talked about the reduced density, the interpolation mode. How you can think about it is there has to be happening some interpolations between the points if you reduce the density, because there is less points and the missing points have to be created there. So usually you would want to be using smooth interpolation. The normal one is similar. At the value of 0, it's actually the same one as the smooth, but at the 1, it's kind of more tight. It's getting more to the linear side of the interpolation. So now if you have for example, if you imagine there is a point here and a point here, if in the reduced sculpt mesh, then linear would be, it would just create line in between them. The smooth one would create nice smooth curve, and the normal at the value of 1, it would create kind of something between linear and smooth. But again, you would probably normally want to be just sticking to smooth interpolation mode. You can mess around with it if you want, but I would just stick with the smooth. There is word mesh size, which is something you don't want to be messing around with if you are just editing, but you would want to be messing around with it if you are actually converting the terrain you have to low resolution mesh, which we can try right now. So here you have a button which will create low res mesh, which is similar to what the edit button does, but it will put UVs on it, and also you are able to hit the specific, or like some kind of range of verts, because this is kind of like max limit of how many verts you want to have for the low resolution mesh you would want to be using in your game. You can if you put there 10,000, it can be anything from 1,000 to 10,000. It's like it's figuring out based on the values of terrains and based on like many different things. So it will not be 10,000, but it will never go over 10,000. So if you will hit that, let's see what it does. So this would be obviously useful for you if you have huge terrains and you are working on like a mobile game and you want to have like one low poly mesh. All this is what you will be using. So as you can see, we get just one mesh. This is actually the low resolution mesh, and that's looking pretty fine. You could be definitely using it, and it's let's have a look how many. Yeah, it's 4,000 watts. So that's pretty usable. You could be probably using that. So yeah, that's something which you can again mess around with. If you would want to actually get it to 10,000, you would probably get it a little bit higher and see what values you would get, but it would never go over that value set here. The word mesh size here is like, if you would say, okay, I want to set it for example to 30,000, but I don't want any specific mesh of those, because it can, if you would set this to say 50,000 and you would set this value to 5,000 for word mesh, it would mean it would create 10 meshes of maximum size of 5,000. It would, like all the meshes there, none of them would ever go over the 5,000. So like you could say, I want to have this background or whatever area to be in total 50,000 words, but I want it to be made of maximum 5,000 words per each mesh. That's what you can do with this if you want it. But generally you don't want to touch this too much, so if you are just editing and stuff, and if you are not looking to create low resolution mesh for you. So let's have a look at the brushes here, because we kind of covered these things. Delete will just delete all of it. So yeah, that's just kind of, don't use this button normally if you don't want to delete everything. In the edit button, you are getting the brushes and all the kind of stuff with it. The details on, that's something we will have a look at like right after we will talk about this, because we need to do some kind of small changes to it. But like, let's talk about everything else here. So the round brush, would give you round brush like here. If you have a square brush, that would give you square brush. Okay, we have resolution here. So let's do something like 6 again. So square brush gives you square brush, round brush gives you round brush. Free brush means that when you press somewhere, it's putting it up, like even when you are just holding the mouse, it will just be adding the height to it. If you set it to drag, it's not doing it. I'm holding the left mouse button right now, but it's working only when you are dragging it. So this is functionality similar to the functionality of standard Unity terrain that you have to drag actually to sculpt. Then you have a quick like shortcuts to the most used interpolations of the brush, which will be the interpolation between center of the brush and the outer edge. So this is typical smooth one. Let's set it to something more intense. So this is typical smooth one. This is more like hills. We have it a drag, so it's a bit free. This will be something like peaks, linear one, and square one. This will be ugly. Yeah, this is ugly. So smooth it out. And but the quality of this one would depend on the resolution of the mesh you have, because this is just setting all the values like this. So you have the curve here, and you can set anything, any kind of interpolation here you want. So you would create something like this. You can see that gives you something like that. So yeah, that's you can do pretty much anything here, and you can also save it under this part here. Cool. So terrain hidden, that just hides the if it's red, it's hiding the original terrain. You can hide the sculpt you have or show it. Generally, if you want to be sculpting, probably you want to have the sculpt visible. But it's useful if you just want to have a look at the original terrain. That's totally fine. The auto-update mesh collider, that's something you will not want to be generally using, but it's there if you would be using a lot of terrains, or there would be, you are using large-scale brush and the performance is getting low when you actually edit, and when you stop doing something, and there is like big gap between when you can start editing, because that's when the colliders are updating. So if you turn this off, then the colliders are not updating. Obviously, the downside is that the new hill you created won't be visible to your mouse cursor when it's kind of recasting to be able to be editing it. So you can update manually here. But again, in 95% of the cases, you want to have this on. Then there is smoothing of the whole terrain here. So if I will just hit this, it will smooth it all. You have intensity, and the iterations here are just basically standing here for clicking this button 3 times. So if I will do this, it will just do it more times for me. So here is undo and redo. So if I will just we have here. So if I will just do some changes to it, then I can just undo them here, or redo them. So this is faster to do here because it's internal, and I can control all the changes to the meshes. So it's here, and the typical command Control Z isn't working here. Then there is typical smooth brush, same like logic as expected. Intensity, as you can see, it's kind of intense quite a bit. So if you are at maximum intensity, that's really strong, which is good, but you can obviously lower it a lot to just get not so intense effect. What else we have here? Set height. So the set height is again, as expected probably. We can set height to 300. We will set the intensity to, yeah, whatever, like here. And you are able to, set height for the terrain. So we created some kind of terrain here right now, and we will project it back, and we will have a look at the details on, which was the feature of the, of the editing and of the brushes, so you kind of know what it's actually about. So now it's projected back, and let's actually do a few more things. So let's focus on smaller area here. Let's focus on the new straight area we just created, and let's do the, let's try to do like small fine details here in this area. So we will pre-process this. Edit it. Okay, and now we will do some really tiny changes here, like these. Nice, and now we will project it back. So now, what we will do, because we have these really, I don't know if they're nice, but we have some nice small details here, and we will reduce the density significantly. Because we want to do again big changes to the terrain. Say we we realize, well, I need like big hill here, so we will pre-process it, and as you will see, it will still be there, but they will. Oh, let's just make sure the area is bigger again. They will still be there, but they will be really not representative of what is here, because the resolution of the 3D mesh will be way lower. So as you can see, this is really not pretty. Did we lose it actually? Okay. Process. Okay, that's better. So I guess I didn't pre-process it or what happened. So what you are getting here is a 3D mesh, which is really good for editing like large-scale brush changes, but the fine details are kind of lost here. So, but the question is, do you lose it, or is it what is happening here? So yeah, you are not losing it. You are still having those details. So, but it's really depends. If I will just project it back, the details will still be there. If I will project back now, you will see that even though it's really ugly like this right now, it will look like before. So there are kind of no changes to it. So if I will do it again, and now you have this option here, details on. And if you have the details on, and you will like do changes here like that, the details will still be there. You are adjusting it with the scale, but the details will be kept. But if you turn this off and you will edit it, then those details will be, well, basically the original details will be lost, and then they will be interpolated based on the actual 3D mesh. So you will see there will be something like this, but it will be not as precise and as nice as the original ones, because the original data are still there. So now if you will project it back, there should be quite difference in the quality. It's not like it will be gone here, but it will be like way more ugly. It will be just, as you can see, these are kind of like messy and stuff, but like the details here are like original, put on top of the sculpts we did right now. So that's what the details on here are for. In the smooth, it doesn't really work. That's like, if you are smoothing, you are just losing the details. With the set height, that's working as expected. That's working the same way. So we adjusted those. We covered pretty much these things here. Now there is something which is really important if you are editing all these meshes. You also want to be able to, because if you have, for example, 20 terrains, you want to be able to set, for example, texture for all of them. It's manageable if you have 4, like in our case, but if you would have 20 or 50, it would be really annoying. So you can load the data of the terrains, and you will get whatever the values of these are, of the textures and everything, are on the first terrain, because all of them are same. So that's that's enough. So now if I will set the texture to this one, and I will save it apply the changes, it will change it for all of them. You know, if I will change the, I will load the data now. Again, it's always good to load it before. It will put all of the four of them into all of the slots, because the Unity, when it's applying like this, it needs to have all the slots filled in. You are not using them, so it doesn't matter. You can change this to 1 to whatever you want. If you will change it to this, it should work. If it's set to readable. So if you will have a look at the terrains, as you can see, it's here. So all of the terrains have the same textures assigned, you know. So that's what you can be using it for. Now, there's a really important thing which is good for you to know, because if you would now want to go back and just edit the terrains on your own without the terrain toolbox, obviously you can do that. But the question is that sometimes it will just not, it will just ignore the scales, or I think it will, well, it just works right now. Yeah, it works right now. But if I would change the scale, it's working. Well, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if it doesn't, all you have to do is just set the Windows layouts to default. And if you do that, it just resets the windows and they work fine. But sometimes it just doesn't work. As you can see right now, it works fine after we did all those edits. Sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, I'm just, if you would have that issue, Windows layout default, and it will be working fine, and everything will reset. You will not have to quit Unity or anything, and it will be just working fine for you. Or you could reset it, quit Unity and open it again, but that's what you don't want to do. Sometimes what just happens is that you will be changing the sizes here and it wouldn't work. Right now it works. It seems like it's really based on the mood of the Unity, or lunar eclipses or something. I just don't really know what's the reason here. So that's really good. And as you can see, also what is really good here, you are able to edit the terrain with these details here as usual. And then obviously in the terrain toolbox, you could be just editing it now, and it would have all those details in there, as expected. If you preprocess it and edit it, now, those details we just did in the typical editing are there, so we are fine with it. So I think we did have a look on the set neighbors, so again, with this thing, you are setting neighbors so that all the terrains are seamless. And there are no issues with it. Oh, it's actually a height, but I thought it's really weird here. But it's actually a height thing. So as you can see, no seams there or anything. All the terrains are neighbors. Then we have a look at this one, and then we have the presets. The presets are a way to store your terrains, all the data for using on other project, or so if you have a artist working on the project and he wants to do some changes to the terrains, and you don't want him to be opening your scene or whatever, so he can just load. You can save it to preset, and he can just load the preset, and it will get saved in the data here into the terrain data into the preset. So you have 4 terrains now. I will create a new preset, which will be tutorial preset. I will save it to preset. Oh no, sorry. I just saved it to preset default now. You will have to create a preset, tutorial preset, and you will save it to preset. And what will happen if I will actually delete it now? I still have it assigned as the parent presets, and I will load from preset. So you just select the tutorial preset, you will load it, and you have everything in there as you need it. So now you just have to set the neighbors again, and you should be fine. And it's good. So that's pretty much it for it. I think what we can just have a quick look at is how we would be managing a lot of terrains if you would have really huge amount of terrains. What is a really good work around it? So say if we want to create, let's create something ridiculous, like 100, that's too much. Let's do 6 by 6. Let's create 36 terrains. Where do we have the parent? Okay, so now we should get 36 terrains. which will take some time probably. Yeah, so now we have 36 terrains. So as you can see, it's really not fast, but zoom out. Okay, so yep, so we have 36 terrains. So you could really try to just edit all of them at once, but that would be really a really good idea. I mean, if you have like 16 terrains, the edit times in the settings, the pre-process and edit would be fine. I think if you would do something like, I'm just wondering what the times on this would be actually for the pre-process. So pre-process will probably take, I don't know, 10-15 seconds. It should be kind of fine. But the big one really is the project back, because that's really like say that's 5 times longer than a pre-process or edit. So you really want to be careful where, as you can see, even the pre-process is taking a lot of time because we are just dealing with a huge amount of terrains. So yeah, you probably don't want to be editing like 36 of them at once. So let's just wait once it finishes, which will hopefully be soon. Yeah, okay, so that's, again, I really would not recommend it. So what you would be doing is you would be using this area, because I really don't think you would need, I mean, if you would really, it would be worth it. I don't want to do it obviously for the tutorial, but if you would be, if you know you need this big area, it would be worth like actually waiting 20 or 30 seconds for this, then this, and then actually projecting it parallel back for 2 minutes, because you would be able with the edit do like huge amount of changes with large brush over the whole thing. So that would probably save you, even though it would take like 2 or 3 minutes for the waiting time here, it would save you a lot of amount of time. Just, you could literally do like, hills of this size if you want to, or like even this size over this whole area. So that would be really fine. And then you would be able to focus on the smaller area, like, like here we are doing what we are doing here. If this is one terrain, so then we are editing 4 terrains or whatever here. So then you would be able to focus on smaller area. Like this, which would be, you would set this kind of area like here we have, you would pre-process it, it will obviously take only a few seconds, edit it, which will give us a mesh. And now, as usual, you are able to sculpt this. Yeah, I think it's just generally because of all the terrains there, it's just probably not doing too well. But as you can see, so now I'll be done with the changes here. You could still do even the borders, and it would just, do not be complete mess. You just kind of like make sure, and yeah, and you are just able to, as you can see, if you just kind of like go over the border, it will create it will connect them like this. So obviously what you would do then, you just adjust the area and you just move it out. So as you can see, even handling 36 terrains is manageable. You could be doing it like this. Again, like if you really would need to do large scale changes to it, I would consider doing it even with the long waiting times. But then you would not be for all the changes doing it. You then want to be focusing on the specific area and doing that. So I think that we covered pretty much all of it right now. I hope there is quite a lot of things in here. So I hope I covered all of it, and it is a little bit more clear what's doing and what. Definitely, if you will have any questions, shoot me an email. I might try to do another video where I will try to go into actually like full session of just trying to create a full terrain with more details and stuff like that, and just kind of like doing it like in full. But yeah, otherwise this is pretty much it. Thank you for checking out the plugin, and definitely thank you for watching this tutorial. So yeah, thank you, bye.